Hello everyone. In this episode, I am going to talk about aperture and how it affects the exposure in photography. Stay tuned and I will see you on the other side. An aperture is the opening in the lens. This opening can be made smaller or larger. To understand aperture and its effects on the exposure in photography, I will be doing a simple demonstration. For this demonstration, I will be taking two water bottles, a big one and a small one. The big one has understandably a bigger mouth compared to this one. I have filled both the water bottles with equal amount of water, and I will be taking a vessel, and now I will be emptying both of these bottles in the vessel at the same time. So let's do this. As you saw, the smaller bottle took a longer time to empty itself, even when the water in both of these bottles was exactly the same thing. If you failed to notice it, I'll play this video again in slow motion. So here it goes. I hope that cleared it out. The bottle with a bigger mouth took a shorter amount of time to empty itself compared to the bottle with a smaller mouth. It's the same with aperture. A smaller aperture will take a longer amount of time to make an exposure compared to a aperture which is bigger in size. So when the lens opening is big, it takes a short amount of time to manage an exposure, the same exposure, compared to the lens opening when it is small. So which aperture is desirable? It all depends. Aperture, obviously, the basic function of it is to control the amount of light passing through it, but aperture also affects depth of field, which we will study in a later episode. But for now, remember, a bigger aperture or a bigger lens opening will allow more light to pass, and it will help you in getting short exposure times, that is a fast shutter speed, compared to a narrow aperture or a aperture which is very small, where the lens opening is very small. It will take more time to have the same exposure. And before I close in, I want to tell you guys, these aperture are denoted by specific numbers. So the wide aperture or the bigger lens opening are denoted by a smaller number, and vice versa. It's nothing to get confused about. It's very simple actually. It will take time for you to get grips on this, but trust me, you will do it. So a bigger aperture can be f2.8, and a smaller aperture wherein the lens opening is very small can be f8 also. So to summarize all this, a bigger aperture will offer more light in a short amount of time compared to a small aperture, and that's what you need to be clear in your mind when using aperture. Before I go, I want you all to do a very simple test in your camera. I want you to take a couple of shots. So go into the AV mode of your camera, set a specific ISO, let's say ISO 400, and shoot the same subject. Preferably a tripod is recommended, but it's okay if you don't have one. Shoot the same subject keeping the aperture at f2.8 if you have a f2.8 lens, at f3.5, at 5.6, at f8, and notice the difference in the shutter speed the camera is giving you. At a bigger opening, let's say f3.5, the shutter speed would be rather fast compared to f16 or so, and you will have a fair idea as to how the aperture affects the exposure in photography. If you have any comments, please mention them in the comment section. And that's all for today. Till the next time, take care.